Welcome back to the Trailblazers Insider podcast on Rip City Radio 620. I'm Sean Highkin, the Trailblazers Insider for Rip City Radio. You may notice we've got a guest for the first time ever in this podcast history. Certainly not the first time me and Erik García Gundersen have done a podcast together over the many,
A
iterations
long,
of.
long time
Yep,
of
yeah,
podcasting.
yeah. Shout out to the family, among other things. We're going to do something today that Erik and I have done for the last few years, sort of a tradition, except for last year. I wasn't really podcasting last year, so we didn't do it last year, but we each made five predictions for the season. This is a very novel concept. Nobody has ever done this on a podcast before. We were the first, we invented it.
We did. Everyone else needs to pay us royalties for being the first people to do preseason predictions.
But so, I mean, before we get started, do you have any thoughts on the Shaden and Tumani extensions beyond it just being really good deals for both sides all around?
No, I completely agree with that assessment. I think they're great deals. I think Tumani, gave the Blazers a little bit of a discount, and
Hmm.
that's cool. And I think he's gonna have a really good year. I think obviously the Shaden deal as well. Like, he's locking in money for the Blazers. They're locking him in at a price they feel good about, and so I I,
Yeah.
I like that. And I think both of them are going to see an uptick in scoring just because Simons is gone. That's 18 or so points a game. That's not just going to go to Shaden. He's not going to average 36 a game.
Right.
So I think Tumani's going to get some of that, and if he plays well offensively, I think that could also make that deal look even better. So I like it. I like both deals a lot.
So for these predictions, what we do every year, we each wrote down five predictions for the season. I don't know what yours are. You don't know what mine are. So we're just gonna like react to them in real time. So do you want to go first as the guest?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think I'll save my craziest one for last.
Okay. All right.
Or the one that's a little bit more, uh, yeah, just a little bit more out there. I'll save that one for last.
Okay.
My first one, I don't know if it's that crazy, because his career numbers say this. I think Drew Holiday is gonna average six or more assists per game this season.
Okay.
Just because I think he's a good ball mover. It's not necessarily saying he's going to be like creating out of the pick and roll and like running the offense through him, but I think there could be a lot of like, oh, the ball gets swung to Drew Holiday and he throws it to a wide open guy for a three or a better shot. And I think, he's the best, passer on this team right now. And I just think that like someone's gonna have the assists, and he hasn't had it in the past. He didn't really have it in the past in Boston the last couple of years because he wasn't really like one of the top guys. But with all the injuries, like him and Shaden and Denny are gonna have the ball in their hands a lot. And so I just think someone's gonna have assists on this team. I think Drew's gonna have at least six assists again.
That's a good one, especially with at least for the first couple of weeks of the season with Scoot being out. There's going to be a lot. Somebody's got to be passing, somebody's got to be running the offense, and it's really going to be Drew and Denny probably, and I guess to a lesser extent the Blake Westleys of the roster. But yeah, no, I think that's a good one. That's interesting. My first one, and this is just kind of there might be some wiggle room on the exact finish in these categories, but just kind of a statement on how these guys are going to be good if they're going to be good and what their weaknesses still are. I think they're going to have a top five defense and a bottom five offense. So I think if these guys are good, it's going to be because they're defending and they're doing what they did the second half of the season. But to your point earlier, with no Anthony Simons and with no DeAndre Ayton, what's the scoring situation? Unless Shaden really takes a leap, unless Tumani Kamara really improves on that end of the floor, I don't know. I mean, I it's hard to find how they're going to score, but they're going to defend the hell out of teams.
Yeah, and I mean they weren't a good offense last year. I think they were like
Right.
23rd or something like that. So like to take two steps back to 25th or 26th, or it would be 26th if they were bottom five.
Right.
So like it's not, I don't think it's that crazy. I was also thinking about the defense and how they would finish and what they would do. And I that's a great call. Mine was more focused on defensive side of the ball. I guess I didn't want I think you're being a little bit more like analytical here though. Like their offense
Sure.
is what it is. I don't like I've been like, oh, maybe Shaden can help them get, but they're gonna be a bad offense.
It's
I
going to
don't
be tough.
yeah, it's gonna be tough to score. And so bottom five, top five, yeah, that's a good one. Honestly, that was so I were for my next one. I had also top five defense. So
Okay.
but I had an A like a so it was my third one. I'm skipping ahead and like but I had
Go for
three
it.
A. So I'm gonna replace top five defense with another one about a category. They are definitely going to be better than 28th in the league in defensive rebound percentage. That was where they were last year.
Yeah.
There's no way that they reach top five in defensive rating if the rebounding doesn't get fixed. That is so to get to so I say there'll be a let's say top 15 or top 10 rebounding team because that's the only way you because that's how you
Yeah.
finish possession. You got to get the rebound, and that was their biggest weakness defensively last year was they were 28th in the league in defensive rebounding percentage. So I think they will be much better at rebounding this year. I did not quantify how much better, but they will be better, especially if we're both thinking that they're going to be a top defensive team. The rebounding's got to come along with that.
Yeah, and one of the things that's been interesting in training camp so far is Chauncey and players have talked about like why is it that they're such a good offensive rebounding team, but not so much a defensive rebounding a team. So that's something that's going to have to get cleaned up. And I think with Donovan Clingan getting more minutes as the starter, and especially if Rob Williams is able to play, which it sounds like he's not that far off. Chauncey said at practice today that everybody did everything in practice except for Scoot. So yeah,
Well, that'd be huge. I almost had a Time Lord, a Rob Williams. I almost had a Rob Williams prediction that he might like. I was gonna set but I didn't feel too good about setting like a games marker on it. I was just like I don't know if I want to go there.
yeah.
But that's encouraging to hear that he's available. And I think Young too could. I mean, Young with his size, like and his basketball IQ, like he should also be a good rebounder.
He should be.
He should be. So we'll see. Obviously, I know that there's been a lot of conversations too about like, with all the threes that go up, the rebounds that move where they used to be. There's not the same spaces, but yeah, I think that's a good one. But let's go to your next one.
Okay, so I kind of going with, we talked earlier about the extensions that they just signed and then some of these other young guys that they've got. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be Shaden Sharp. It could be Tumani Kamara. Could be Denny Avdia. Somebody on this team, probably one of those three guys, I'm not saying is going to win most improved, but is going to get a top three finish in voting in most improved. One of those three guys.
It's really evident that we talk to each other a lot because we're like because like I have a
We
very
did not
similar.
tell each other
We
what
did
our
not no
predictions.
no we literally did not tell each other what we were gonna do. I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna put a bow in, but I like that one. I like
Yeah.
I have one that's along the same lines, but like uh I think it's gonna be Shaden.
Oh, okay.
I think Shaden is gonna finish in he's gonna be one of the finalists for most improved player. I just think with Simon's gone, with the injuries that they don't have anybody else, especially in the half court, that can really bend the defense. Denny's good at bending the defense in transition. He's really good at that. I think when it gets to the half court, Shaden has to be the guy. And I just think his preseason usage rate was insane. Uh he's just going to get an opportunity to put a lot of stats in the stat sheet, which will get attention the next mornings on the East Coast from the people that vote on this stuff. Even if they're not seeing him play, they'll be like, whoa, Shaden Sharp had 30 and 6 again. And I just think that like those nights will build on top of each other, mixed with the social media of like his highlights and
Hmm.
how like I remember Oregon coach Dan Lanning got in trouble because he was talking about Colorado a couple years, and he goes like, "They're playing for clicks." I remember he said that
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Colorado,
Yeah. I remember that.
and it's like, look, as Adam Silver, our commissioner says, this is a highlight league. It's mostly highlights, and like Shaden's game is the most highlight friendly game maybe in the entire league. And so I think if he mixes the stats on a nightly basis with a couple of those viral highlights that he has, I think he's going to be an MIP finisher. And there's already been Eric's gambling corner action. He was 30 to 1 for most improved player like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's now at 18 to 1. So
Okay.
there's a lot of action on Shaden. Now that could just be total BS. I mean, Reed Shepard was the I mean, sometimes these betting lines are just total
Right.
crap. They're total crap. I mean,
Right.
Reed Shepard and Zach Edey were the favorites for Rookie of the Year last year, and they didn't even come close to winning. So take the odds with a grain of salt. But I just thought it was notable. So I that's my third one is dovetailing off of yours is Shaden's going to be that guy for the MIP finisher.
So the way I would kind of handicap this, I mean, with if Denny wins, it'll be more of a he just keeps doing what he did the second half of last season, and voters only notice it now because usually when a guy like that wins most improved player, he was already doing it the previous season and just people weren't paying attention. So I would say that it would be the best thing for the Blazers if Shaden were to be the one that wins most improved, because that means he really took the leap. And they need that in order for the team to be good. But I will also say that I think out of the three, Tumani actually has the best chance of winning it because he already has been an all defense guy in his second season. And if he even gets to like a league average offensive player, plus he kind of already had that, the Herb Jones, 2021 Lou Dort. He's like the thing where like
Dyson
well, like the
Daniels, yeah, kind of
right,
thing.
like the guy that like people like us who like watch a lot of League Pass and do podcasts are like, I really like this guy who's on this team that not a lot of people like. He was that guy the second half of last year, and he got an all defense. So now that he's kind of already in that kind of category, I think voters are going to be inclined to give him another award potentially if he has another good season.
What is that category one that we might call the the prestige zone? The could
Could
be
be a
yeah,
variant of.
it could be. I mean, the JJ Redick going like out of his way to glaze Tumani last year when the
Yeah,
Lakers were in
yeah,
town. That also went a long way in
yeah.
like pushing that agenda. So I definitely agree with you. Like in terms of like the sweet spot of underrated defensive player, blogger slash coach slash like film room sicko love. If he can get his scoring average from like 11 points a game to like 15 or 16,
Mhm.
and he continues to play like all defensive team, then I think yeah, he's probably the best. He has the most going for him because I agree with Denny. It's like Denny's kind of an interesting category because like I feel like the Blazers just weren't good enough for him to get consideration last year, but I felt like last year was really the year where like
Yeah.
the case for him being most improved was the strongest. You know what I mean? And it's like I don't know if that can if he's gonna have that argument because his stats I don't think are gonna take such a massive leap. I think he's just a very good player. I think, but if he does take a leap and like makes for Denny, it's gonna take like making the All-Star team. I
Right.
think.
Which that'll depend on how good the team is too. So I'll go with my next one since we just kind of combined
Yeah.
these
Yeah, we
ones.
did.
Uh as it relates to what might or might not happen at the trade deadline,
Okay.
I am going to predict that in the weeks leading up to just to not bury the lead, I don't think these guys are going to do anything of real consequence at the trade deadline with any of their actual like they might do something fringy like the equivalent of like Delano Banton a couple of years ago or whatever, but like anything involving any of the main guys, I don't think they're going to do anything. We either adding, subtracting. I think they're kind of at this point. I think they're kind of good with their roster the way it is, and unless there's like a huge injury or something, I don't think that's going to change. But I am going to predict. Well, I'm going to predict two things. One, this is like the easiest prediction in the world. They're not going to trade Jeremy Grant, and people are going to be mad about it. as because that, but that's
Yeah.
just like the free square on the prediction card.
Yeah,
But here's the
that's just
other
easy.
one.
Oh my God, that was just easy money. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the kind of more meaningful one. There is going to be a couple of weeks to a month leading up to the trade deadline of we'll call it slop. Shout out to our boys YKB Trill Bro dude
Yeah, and Sam
and
the
Sam.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to the the slop father.
there is going to be a couple weeks where there are reports on whichever of these outlets report about this stuff that you know contending teams are monitoring the status of Drew Holiday, and they realize that he doesn't fit in with the timeline of the Trailblazers. And with all these young guards, are they looking to like the Blazers are not going to have any interest at all in trading Drew Holiday? That is not something they want to do. That's not something that's not why they traded for him. But that's going to be a thing for like 3 weeks in the podcast slash trade rumor sphere, a thing that people
It
talk about.
it's a cousin to the which shout out to him. We love his work, but it's akin to what Zach Lowe was kind of talking about on about the Phoenix Suns, and
Uh-huh.
saying that there's a lot of Dylan Brooks buzz, quote unquote. It's like,
Uh-huh.
for who? Like like who's, first of all, no one's getting traded for first round picks anymore. Like,
Right.
so like getting a first round pick for a starter cat, like when Portland traded Josh Hart and got the 23rd pick in the draft back, I don't even think that's on the table for Dylan Brooks
Right.
at this point. And of course, a lot of other teams would love for Dylan Brooks to become available because he's a good basketball player. And people's like, well, what are they doing in Phoenix? And the same thing happens with Portland. It's like, well, what is actually happening in Portland? And
Well, it's a lot of wish casting. It's a lot of rival executives monitoring the situation. We're gonna get a lot of that.
yes, and seeding that idea to podcasters and reporters that can then carry that on to,
Yeah.
other outlets. And yeah, I think that's a great one. I have a trade deadline one to follow up on
Okay.
that one.
Okay. All right. All right.
Mine's a little bit more cynical, but again, and I don't even know what he gets traded for. It could be honestly like in the Delano Banton vein.
Hmm.
I think Matisse Thybulle is going to get traded.
Huh. Well, he's got to play.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
That's that's
I mean,
like
yeah, he's got to play. It's a little bit like Robert Williams. It's like, okay,
yeah.
well, the idea of trading him makes a lot of sense, but and like I don't even know. Has he played in? You said he participated today. He was like one of the
He
people that's
hasn't done he hasn't done anything in preseason or training camp. Today him and Rob were both full participants in practice today, according to Chauncey Billups. He was non-committal about either of them, yes or no, for opening night. But the fact that they were both, I would actually be surprised if either of them were cleared to play opening night because they both haven't done anything in training camp so far. But they're going to have to ramp up still. But both
okay.
at least doing full, everything. They're scrimmaging, 5-on-5, full contact, everything. So they're close. If they're not good to go, they're close to being good to go. But if Matisse plays, I definitely think that's a possibility.
I just think his contract is very reasonable. Like, you
Mhm.
don't like teams don't have to they don't have to find a lot of salary. Like, that's the thing about trading Jeremy is like a team's got to put like three guys in a trade.
Yeah.
And it's like no one's given up three guys in, like, especially in the like, especially
In
at
the
the
middle of
rookie.
the season when they Blazers would then have to waive, guys off the roster in order to open up the roster spots even. It's like they're just gonna have like the Jeremy contract, man. Like they're just gonna have to like, and I get why they did it at the time. It was like a last ditch thing to get Dame not to request a trade, but that might be like a Tobias Harris situation. They might just have to ride that one out for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I just don't see any way in which yeah, I agree. It's very akin to the Tobias Harris situation
Yeah,
that they had in Philadelphia. I think they're gonna have to ride it out with the contract. Look, their worst like salary aside, I think he could be a good player for this team. I know
yeah,
this wasn't a Jeremy talking point, but it's like I think Jeremy can be useful for these guys. I think he can help contribute. I think he can be part of a good team. I just think maybe the role that they had him in, where it was like he's one of your top two offensive players and you're running everything through Jeremy Grant, maybe is just not where this team is anymore, and that's okay. But like, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think there's going to be like a trade for him just because I think it's too hard and teams need their depth now. That was kind of where I was going is like Oklahoma City and Indiana, like, and even we see with the Knicks adding a bunch of dudes to their roster because they didn't have any depth. Like, you need depth not just to survive the regular season, but you need it if you're going to be good at all in the playoffs. And I just don't see teams like being like, oh, hey, we're going to give up three guys from our depth for one dude, and that dude being Jeremy Grant. I just don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. So here's my next one. This is another kind of a continuation of my Drew trade rumor cycle prediction. This is another one that I think we'll put in the category of not so much predicting events, but predicting the discourse. This is one of my fields of study, as
Yes,
it
the
were.
discourse predictions. Yes, I love it.
So it has been established on Media Day and ever since the signing happened. Damian Lillard is not going to play this year. We've decided that. Everybody, like Dame said that on the record at Media Day. Chauncey said at his introductory press conference that Dame is going to be the most high paid assistant coach in the league this year. Everybody is on the same page that this is not going to happen and it shouldn't happen and it would be a bad idea to do it. At some point after the All-Star break, there is going to be a report from a reporter like I don't know, it could be a Haynes brief situation or it could be something else, but
Could,
something
could,
it's something
maybe from a cable TV network. Is that
could be
maybe from a cable television network?
cable sports company.
Cable sports company. That's the
That's
wording I was
the that's
looking
the
for.
proper nomenclature,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Shout out to the God Woj.
but from somebody, there is going to be something that some sort of report that gets out there that Dame is way ahead of schedule and he's really thinking like there's really a possibility that he could return to play before the end of the season and it's not going to happen because the team wouldn't clear him and it's like everybody knows it's actually not a good idea, but it's going to be a thing that we have to talk about for 48 hours because it's going to be that time of the year where people are bored in the news cycle and there's nothing to talk about, so that kind of comes up, but it's not actually going to happen because it shouldn't.
Yeah, I think double if these guys are anywhere close to the play-in. Like it's gonna it like if these guys are in the mix of the play-in or like the eight, like one of the 7, 8 spots, that's a great call. I'm jealous that you made that call because like that's a great call. Because that's oh man, I can see it now. Like
Yeah.
gets talked about on NBA Today. There's a whole thing like they do a whole.
Jason Tatum's going to come back in February. Why can't Dame?
Yeah, first take. It'll be a first take story like Stephen A. Like once football season ends, like Stephen A. is gonna get into it. He's like, Damian Lillard's been one of the baddest cats in the league, and then he'll like go in is like in Portland,
Yeah.
and he'll talk. It'll be the one time that they talk about Portland on first take the entire year will be that arc. I guarantee it.
I mean, it has to be Dame because, for however many years before 2023, the only time that those shows ever talked about these guys was to try to manifest Dame getting traded to the Knicks or the Warriors or whatever. And now it's going to be, a made up idea of him coming back from this injury that he's already said and the team has already said he's not going to come back from this year. And again, in both of our opinions, I think I speak for both of us, he shouldn't come back. It would be a terrible idea for him to come back. And I think everybody knows that. And Dame said on Media Day that if these guys are like in the playoffs without him, they've probably got it. Like they're probably got it under control.
Yeah, and also too, like let's not forget that rushing, like who
Yeah.
knows, like we can't ever know ultimately whether this was it or not. But Dame did rush back to get ready to be in the playoffs and went from literally from 0 to 100, went from no basketball to
Yeah.
playing in the playoffs, and then the Achilles thing happened, and also too, like there's a saying in Spanish like no soy aquello, which means like I'm not that guy over there. And it's like Jason Tatum might hit the court this year. Jason Tatum is also like 7 or 8 years younger than him. Like like had surgery immediately after, like the day after, and like I just think that like yeah, let Jason Tatum do Jason Tatum, and Dame should do Dame, which normally that's how Dame works. But I could definitely see like the pressure mounting up, the media conversation, and like the competitiveness kind of get on to be like, hey, I want to do this, but yeah, I think it's for the best that he doesn't do that.
Yeah. So I'll do my last one because you said your last one was crazy.
Yeah, so you want to go with
So
yours first?
I'll let you close with that one.
Okay, okay.
This one might be a little bit bold because it's something that hasn't happened in a number of years, but and I think since I think 2021 was the last time this happened, but just kind of hear me out here. Jeremy Grant is going to play at least one game in the month of April this year. Hasn't happened since 2021. His last year with Detroit and all three of his years here so far. Hasn't played in April.
What a life. I love Jeremy Grant. Good for
Work-life
him, man.
balance king, as some
Work
say.
life, dude. I aspire to have work life balance like Jeremy Grant and not have to work in March. But yeah, I that's a great prediction. That's I really like that one. I really think that yeah,
Because the
they're
last
good.
few years, they've shut him down because they were trying to lose games. And now, if all goes according to plan, they are going to be ideally in late March, early April, not trying to lose games and having all their guys.
Yeah, and I think too, like, the rhetoric that's been like this team's on winning time, and obviously the West is tough. It's gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna try to win, and they may not because the West is that good. But I think with uh all the stuff going around, the ownership changes, I do think it behooves kind of everyone to like hope. I think everyone is hoping that Jeremy will have to play at that time of years, that they're in the mix and their games matter. I mean, they were kind of flirting with the play in a little bit towards the end of last year, and I think, or in the middle of the season. But yeah, I think it's a good one. Yeah, I think Jeremy definitely is going to play. But we'll get to my last one here. Um,
I'm excited for this. I don't know
I
what it
wrote
is.
this. I wrote this down like a month ago.
Okay.
Preseason's had me pull back a little bit, but I'm still gonna stick with it because I really do. I think by the end of the year, Young Hansen is gonna start
Over Klingen.
over Klingen. That's
Not
my
due to
hot,
injuries.
not due to injuries. I think we talked about this team's offensive issues. This team has a lack of creation, and maybe I'm a year too early. Honestly, like when I've been seeing him in preseason. I still feel that he's going to be the starting center one day, but I also think that maybe he's got a really big learning curve that I wasn't really appreciating about a month ago.
Hmm.
And so maybe this is a little too premature, but I'm going to stick with it. He's going to start, I think, by the end of the year, just because I think this team needs like, Shaden is going to be tested and tasked with being like the main offensive creation guy. But I do think we were already starting to see the limitations of that at certain points in the preseason where like the efficiency may not always be there and like they might need easier ways to score points. And I really think Young's passing, especially with Scoot out,
Hmm.
is super important. And I think he's going to force his way into the lineup because they need someone to get the other guys involved. And I think Shaden's going to get an opportunity to do that. I think Denny's going to get an opportunity to do that. I talked about Drew averaging 6 assists a game. But I really do think that Young, of everyone else on the team other than Scoot, and then obviously, of course, Dame, who's not playing this year, I think Young has the highest upside in terms of a passer, creator, offensive fulcrum. That's in like the Marc Gasol kind of mold where it's like he can get the ball to guys and they will cut, and it just opens up other avenues offensively that are just not open to them with their current starting lineup. And you look, it's a crazy prediction. I wrote it before the preseason started, but I'm gonna stick with it because we need to give the people some red meat. So yeah, Young Hanson's gonna be the starting center by the end of the year. That's my hot take, the hottest take.
I see the vision. Spiritually, I'm with you. I think you're a year early. I think
Yeah,
if this prediction was going into opening night next season, Young Hansen is the starting center. I don't think that's crazy. But I think, especially again, and I know you said this before the preseason, but we've kind of seen what the preseason has been for him. He had a couple of good games, a couple of really bad games. It's been up and down for him. So I think this whole year is going to be pretty up and down. So I don't know if I can go with you on that for this season, but long term, I mean, sure, I love the idea of it.
And I want to say I love Donovan Clingan. I think he's really good. And also the thing I do want to see though, I saw a stat the other day that like last year, especially crashing the glass and offensive rebounding has become more of a weapon in the league because the shooting efficiency for the rest of the league, maybe it's not where it was in like like with like the Warriors era or like those Houston Rockets teams where it's just like, all right, like obviously, teams like the Celtics jack up a ton of threes and across the league, the volume of threes is really high. But I do think like there is like a little, we saw it a little bit with the Knicks when they went double big in the Eastern Conference Finals. We saw it with Oklahoma City going double bigs with Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein. And I thought that that really pushed Indiana into some uncomfortable places because their center depth was bad. Maybe the way I should have rephrased it is we're going to see Young and Klingon together because I actually do think I want to see that. I know that like against certain teams it might be a bad matchup and team, but like let's see it because like I really want to see Young and Klingon play sometimes together. That is something I would like to see during the season just because I think they could really, if they are really crashing the glass and you got Young's shooting ability, Klingon can also step out and shoot threes. It might not be as bad offensively as some people think. Defensively, I would have some worries maybe if they're going to get against quicker teams, but if they're like hitting the offensive glass, really rebounding the ball, that is something I want to see because I do think we're kind of in a I think we're in a little bit of a paradigm shift in the NBA where like we were in like the three-pointer, you know, nirvana kind of thing where and just like small ball. And I do think like now big guys and size are starting to come back into vogue. And I do think that Young and Klingon together merits at least a little bit of a look. And also Robert with those two guys too.
Well, Chauncey is on record saying that he doesn't think that's going to happen. Hansen is on record earlier in training camp saying we got to start lobbying Chauncey to do it. He said that through his translator. So he wants it.
Listen
I
to the kids,
mean,
bro.
yeah, I mean the kids might know what they're doing. I mean, I don't know how effective it would be, but I would like to see it. That's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get why Chauncey doesn't want to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, but like, like sometimes you get pushed into some weird places and like foul trouble happens, and all of a sudden you're like, what are we gonna do? Like, he may not want to do it, but I could see like situations like one of the situations I talked about with why they when they drafted Young. Like let's say they're playing Wemby or Jokic, and it's like maybe you need to try something else and have like you could switch them, or like if so you have a center on Jokic and you put a center on Christian Braun or whatever, and then when Jokic instead of letting Jokic just cook on a small dude and shove him into the basket, like what if you had a little cross match? Like this is super nerd like level stuff right now that I'm getting into, but like I like, of course, that's not Chauncey's first choice, but I think it could be a wrinkle um, in certain matchups, whether it's a Wemby matchup or a Giannis matchup or a Jokic matchup. Like, I think there might be something there in when they're playing against teams that, really play through their big guys, which is, again, becoming more and more common, in the 2020s.
So before we go, we're going to both say where we think they're going to end up at the end of the season.
Okay.
So where are you at?
I think they will be the ninth seed.
Okay, that's where I am too.
I think they will be the ninth seed. I think they will get a chance to play in the 9-10 game
Yeah.
and then have a chance to beat like Memphis or Dallas or Phoenix.
I don't know
Like,
about Memphis. Did you see the Ty Jerome news today? They're just they can't go 48 hours without one of their main guys getting hurt.
I mean, I'm under on Memphis this year. It's like they're under over unders 40 and a half. So I was already worried about that. But like, so I think Phoenix is going to be better than people think. I think Dallas is going to be okay. Like I think they'll be in the play-in zone, but I'm actually going under on Dallas too. I don't like I like actually yeah, I take it back. I like that they're playing Cooper Flag at point guard for his like long-term development. I don't like it for the prospect of them winning games this year. And
Mhm.
also like no Kyrie, like a lot of D'Angelo Russell's going to be happening. I just don't and Anthony Davis, like obviously it's preseason, but the returns on Anthony Davis haven't been promising in the preseason either. So I think Portland is like right there in that group of teams with Dallas, Phoenix, I think also, San Antonio. I think San Antonio's going to be better than these guys this year. I just think Wemby's going to be.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
Like
So
Harper's looked awesome in preseason.
yeah. So I think that's where like I don't like Sacramento. I'm not even considering them as a
No.
potential playing team. It's like to me, them, Utah, and Memphis are like those are 15 or 15, 14, 13. And then like you got like Phoenix
What about New
12.
Orleans?
New Orleans, I think, is in the 11, 9, 10, 11 zone. I mean, I like what I've seen from Zion. Will it last? Is this like, and also I think CJ, like, they're replacing CJ with Jordan Poole, but, CJ just like brings a level of like competency and
Hmm.
professionalism that like you could always count on. And now they've replaced that with Jordan Poole. It's so like I'm not that high on New Orleans either. So I think yeah, there's four teams that I would say like are behind Portland, and so I think Portland's got to deal with Dallas, Phoenix, and those teams, and maybe New Orleans. And I think it's possible that they definitely get into that 9 seed, maybe even an 8 seed. Injuries, man. Like Portland's had some injuries, but their team is just not as old as the Clippers, as the Warriors, like
Right.
as the Lakers. Like those are all teams that they should be better and they are better on paper without question. But can those guys take the beating of the 82 game season? I mean, Jimmy Butler misses 25 games every year. Kevin Durant misses 20 something plus games every year. Like I think Portland's youth is a huge asset and a big reason why I believe that they will win. They will hit their number, and I think they're also going to be in the play-in playoff race. And if they can get that 8 seed and get some playoff experience, then even if they just make the play-in, to me that's a successful season, given where they've been.
Yeah, I mean, I think playing is a reasonable goal. I think it's a realistic goal depending on how other stuff in the West shakes out. They're certainly in that mix. We will revisit these in April and see how many of them we got right and how many we got wrong. Eric, most people listening to me probably already know where to find you, but tell people what's up.
Yeah, yo, hit up blazerbanter.substack.com. We got some things in the works that are coming in pretty soon that are, hopefully coming in the next couple of weeks. Just got to nail down some things, but gonna be doing a little bit more podcasting, a little bit more coverage this year. So definitely check that out and follow Blazer Banter on X, the Everything app, and also follow Eric G 503 on Blue Sky. That's where I'm
Yep.
at. So follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on TikTok, Eric G 503. I'm doing a lot of stuff on TikTok. I just dropped my top 10 over unders on Blazer Banter, and I also did a TikTok breaking them down in less than 10 minutes. So if you want to hear me talk about them instead of read, you can go to TikTok. So thank you for having me on, bro.
Yep.
It's always great to pod with you. Shout out to
Yep.
the family.
We're going to do this again. Peace.